Hey, what's going on, gentlemen? How's it going?
What's up?
What's up?
All
What's up?
right.
What's up?
All right. Today's Sunday, November 20th, 2022. This is Triple Option, another week of college football in the books. And we are here. I can see Brooks with the coffee going. He's ready to roll, got the glasses on, able to see it all. And he'll be able to analyze it all for us today. Coy, I know you're mobile, and but you're here, and I know you're ready to roll. The big
Always
Bama
love
fan that you are, and a college football fan that you are. So,
it.
gentlemen,
I'm a college football fan than anything.
yes, definitely. All right, gentlemen, let's get to it. Triple option. All right, triple option. We are in the house. Before we get rolling, please do the following. That like, subscribe, the notification button. Please share the shows. Uh, Go to 411 Sports World on YouTube. Please hit subscribe and tell a friend. Cost you $0 to do that. We definitely
It's
appreciate it.
amazing, and you
And we
might be
appreciate those who
surprised.
doing it already.
You might be surprised. Mr. 411 is almost got him an underground ESPN going. It's amazing. Y'all should check him out. You name it, he talks about it.
Appreciate that, Coy. All right. All right. We have a sponsor we need to get in, and then we're gonna get into the matchups because there was some upsets today. There was some things that Nick Saban said that I would love to hear the guys on here talk about breakdown. And then we have some FCS talk as well. So we got an action packed show here. All right, let's get to the sponsor. Support this gentleman, Ash and Smoke Cigars, Lamont E. Thomas. He has infused cigars. Corey, I think you know a little bit about cigar or two.
Mhm. I'm
Gift
familiar with it.
sets, box, cigar box purses, accessories, and more. To reach Lamont E. Thomas, give him a call, 518-61-CIGAR. 518-61-CIGAR. That's 518-61-CIGAR. Ash and Smoke Cigars. All right. There's going to be some teams by the end of the season smoking some cigars or, the FCS level and the FBS level and the D1, D2 level, so on and so forth, all the champs. But we're going to get into, let's go ahead and jump right into Brooks' team, the University of Georgia Bulldogs. They're the number one team in the country. And it was a 10-point victory. I would say a little bit underwhelming, but I'd love to get you guys' thoughts on it. So what's your take on the Georgia victory over Kentucky?
Win in advance. I mean, you can't have it every day, but when you don't have it, make sure you play defense and run the ball. And the thing about whoever plays Georgia, even if they can't get the points on the board, you still got to figure out a way to score on that defense. I'm about 50-50 on whether this defense this year is better than the last year's defense.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky didn't score until late in the game, uh, so not like Georgia needed a lot of points there.
No.
Um, so we ran the ball, had a running back with over 140 yards in Kenny McIntosh, which that's that's good to see. I like when they establish a rhythm with a running back instead of they're known for giving spreading their carries out multiple running backs. I like to give a running back 10 more than 10 carries, let him get in the rhythm. So that was good to see. Um, it hasn't always been pretty this season, so but we found ways to win. You're undefeated, so uh, I'll take it. You know, after an
Yeah.
emotional win after Tennessee to go on the road and beat two teams. Two solid middle tier SEC teams. I think you take that. You take it.
Yeah, I like those points you guys make. Definitely, you don't want to have a letdown after, the quote unquote huge win beating the number one team at that time. And so, yeah, you survive in advance, as Corey said as well. So get the victory. And most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, as they mentioned, the defense is elite. And as long as you have that constant right there, you're pretty much in any game. And so they just basically gave you that winning formula, almost an old school formula there. Defense and running the football. How about that?
Well, that's kind of Kirby's way he came up. He's a defensive coach. Most defensive minded coaches have the old school philosophy. One of three things happens when you throw the ball, and two of them are bad. So they prefer if they can establish a run. Even Saban, when Alabama, the harder they run, it was I got a stable of 2 to 3 backs, and I come downhill and I just beat you up. And that's kind of how, and that's the table that Kirby kind of built his coaching career under. So it's almost like you're seeing a mirror image of what happened at Bama with a younger fella. So
Yeah, another good point. All right.
I just don't believe the SEC should. He's a good coach, which you're gonna find. But what I don't want to happen is what I've been seeing happen is automatically he coached for Saban, so he should be a head coach. Some of those jokers, they need to stay where they're at.
All right. Okay. Well, let's switch to a matchup that had a dramatic ending on our other show, Crossing the Lines. The calculator. He had this one as he was very adamant on that episode on Thursday that that watch out for Baylor. They were going to cover, and he outright said they were going to win. And boy, was it close to that happening. TCU had to kick a field goal at the very end. They literally had to run out there and kick it, and to win the game by 1. So they did cover. So the calculator was right on that. And but it was a close battle. So what's your take on TCU as they survive?
Survive. That's all I can say. Because with 4 minutes to go, they were down with ball in hand, and they managed to pull something off. What can I say? I mean, I actually at one point, uh, 2 of the top 4 was down late in the game. And I'm normally not a pessimist or that the guy, but I was ready for the world to be set on fire when TCU and Michigan both lost close ones. It was going to be a day. Because what are you gonna? No, I'm sorry. We'll get to that later.
All right.
What's the logic? Well, I didn't understand why he didn't spike the ball on that third down. Like why run your field goal team out like that? Like I didn't understand it.
Well, the nouveau philosophy is kick on third and not 4. Because if you say you have a bad snaps, the myriad of things that go wrong on third down and it's fourth down, that's game. So kick on third.
Okay.
Yeah, it did feel like a catch-22 because you do want to have that extra down, but then you're rushing it on the third down.
Yeah,
to risk missing the kick.
They ran it on third down. They ran it on third down. Ran their field goal unit out. I mean, I didn't understand.
Yeah, but it's like, that's part of your that's part of your 2-minute offense, 2-minute drill. It's something that you should already be doing on. It's part of your already practice week. So it's no more than scripting your play, because usually most teams on the last pad day or the day before you hit the road, or you're gonna run you're gonna run your goal line and you're gonna run your 2-minute offense, and those are gonna be main points in your practice. So and it's always every week. So when your team is playing, if your team is buying in, it's no more than the quarterback going into hurry up offense. So
The only reason I can think of is that they didn't want to leave any time left after they made the field goal for Baylor. That was the only logic I could come up with, I suppose. But, hey, they made the kick. Doesn't really matter.
right.
Yep. All right. Let's transition back to the SEC. We talked about Georgia, but the team that Georgia beat to reclaim the number one spot was Tennessee Vols, which we had Goddard on so he could give us some insight there. I did watch the majority of this game, but man, South Carolina, they look like a brand new team last night with the home victory over the Volunteers. And look at the score, gentlemen, 63-38, 63 on the board. The 38 by Tennessee, I expect that, but the 63 from Carolina, I don't expect that. So what happened here, guys?
Brooks, what did we say the week when Tennessee played Georgia? What was my thing about Tennessee? What don't they have?
Defense.
Okay. There you have it. There has not been a team that was not able to score on Tennessee this year. So they it's that Tennessee is one of those riverboat gambling teams where they have no fear and they can come back. They can come back. But this time they had a team that got out on them a little bit too far. They just couldn't really back in. It happens. But
yeah,
the program is in the right direction. So they'll learn. They'll get there.
Spencer Rattler's one of those quarterbacks where if you don't pressure him, he could really light it up. Like, he's athletic and he can run around. He can make all the throws. So they didn't pressure him. And, if you look at his game, he was just in rhythm the whole night, felt comfortable back there, put it where he want to, ball placement wise. So they didn't get any pressure on him, and he tore him apart. So I think that was the key thing. I think they had one sack. So
Does this loss eliminate them from the college football playoff?
Puts them in line. They get in line. They get in line because we know Michigan or Ohio State should have a loss on their plate. One of them. It's either or. I don't know if there's anybody left to beat the Corn Fog, to be honest with you.
When you look at the Ohio State Michigan winner, you look at potentially USC still with one loss. You still look at Clemson, even though they haven't been impressive. They're going to have the ACC. They're going to get a chance to win the ACC, and
right.
There's so many teams that they would have to jump over now with only a couple of weeks left of football. So yeah, I don't see it. Not with two losses.
Yeah, I mean, a 2-loss SEC team, and you don't get to play in the SEC championship game to get you another quality victory in there. It's going to be tough now. But just a week ago, they still had a path to get in there, and that's a tough one there. Pretty much made Carolina's season.
No, they had a great path. I mean, they really did have a good path to get in, but not anymore. You can't. 2 losses, they got to jump too many teams. I mean, I don't even think, even LSU with 2 losses. I mean, even if they win the SEC, I don't know if they perchance would have beat Georgia. I don't even know if they could get in. So, yeah, you got too many teams to jump.
Yeah. And you mentioned – go ahead, Corey, before we go to the next matchup. You had something there?
I'll make sure you can hear me. Okay. Mother call, so you know how that goes.
Yeah. I understand that. All right. Well, Bruce, you just mentioned one of the teams, and that's USC. They're still alive. High scoring affair, 3-point victory over UCLA in their rival matchup. And the quarterback is definitely has himself right there in the mix for the Heisman with 502 total yards, 3 touchdowns. And so Williams definitely had done well for himself last night. So, yes, USC is still alive, gentlemen. A, what was your thoughts on this matchup? B, where do you foresee USC?
The thing is, will they, if say Michigan or say any of the top four lose, right? Are they gonna just slide them back into 5, 6, or back in the top four, or will that give Michigan the room? Because the way it's set up right now, we got to realize there's two top 10 teams that are two lost teams that hold spots. If I'm not mistaken, let's see. I was looking at last night. LSU holds number 6. Tennessee's gonna fall off, so they should fall behind Clemson. You would think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you got mm, Alabama sitting at 8. So the question is, how many of those teams are going to fall behind LSU and Alabama? And can if say Ohio State, Michigan, or TCU fall back, will they fall further enough back for USC to overtake them? And quite frankly, USC don't have the games left on their schedule or the resume to do otherwise. You see what I'm saying? Their resume, because of their conference and because of the helter skelter way it is out there, I don't think they legitimately may not, even though they may be the win out west and win the conference championship, they may not get a seat at the table with that one loss.
I think they can. I think they can slide into the fourth playoff spot.
I
You know,
got a question for you, Brooke. So who are you going to take out? Are you going to take out a one-loss Michigan? Or are you going to take out a one-loss TCU? Or are you gonna leave out a one-loss Clemson? You see where the problem comes in?
I think USC's got the wins. I think their schedule stacks up better than whoever loses
And
the
then
Michigan Ohio
and
State
then
game.
and then I got one for you. Let's say LSU goes to the SEC championship and win, right? So now
Yep.
you have a one-loss Georgia. LSU automatically, just by the fact they beat Georgia, will be in the playoffs.
Mm-mm.
So do you
No.
right now there you got to think LSU's number 6. How can you
Mm-mm.
deny the number 16 where they just beat the number 1 team?
I look at the precedents that a couple of years ago, Ohio State lost to Penn State in the Big Ten championship. Ohio State still got in. Penn State didn't. It's happened before. I I don't think they'll can put LSU in, even if they win, unless a lot of chips
And
fall their way. I just don't think so.
and the thing about now, if you remember when Penn State lost, people lost their shits over that too. It was like, when Penn State won, it was like, how can you see what I'm saying? There's
No,
no
I mean,
doubt Georgia Scott is going to go at this point, unless something happened freaky with Georgia Tech, which we all know
yeah,
is not going to happen. Georgia's gone. Georgia's already punched their ticket. If
hmm
they lose to LSU, unless it's something that we didn't expect, which won't happen, but they're going regardless. At this point, Georgia's in. We can agree that the Bulldogs are in. We can also agree that most likely Ohio State's going to be in, win or lose, right?
Well, are you saying Ohio State win or lose, meaning even if they lose to Michigan, they're still going to stay in the top 4?
I would think so.
I think this Michigan Ohio State losers out. I think this is a default play-in game. I think whoever loses out. I just don't think those teams have the strength of schedule. Um, that's why. So I'm saying I'm thinking,
And you're saying that, but look at it like this: you got the number 2 and number 3 team playing for all the marbles, right? Late in the season, you follow?
mm-hmm.
It's gonna be hard pressed if that's a close game. It's gonna be hard pressed to say one of the loser of that. Say it's a 3-point to a 7-point game, or say it's something that goes late into the fourth quarter or overtime. It's gonna be hard pressed for the committee to deny that loser of that game another shot at it.
So
We've
I
seen
mean,
it.
I look
We've
at
seen it. We've seen it. We saw it last year with Georgia and Alabama.
I'm looking at USC. They got wins over Utah. They beat a ranked UCLA team. Chance to beat a ranked Notre Dame team who's clawed their way back. Pac-12 title game. I think they went out there in. That's a solid resume.
I don't deny that. I don't deny that. I'm just looking at how the rankings look. So let's say, they went out. If the top is understood, if the top four stay undefeated, then it is what it is, right? If TCU loses, it's guaranteed that TCU is out. Because I don't think TCU is only in there because of the fact they're undefeated
Right.
and they have some big wins. But I
Right.
don't really think the committee or everybody really believes in TCU. So I do believe if TCU's the only way they stay in is they continue to win.
Is the only way now?
I'm looking at Georgia. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I heard you guys mention Georgia a little bit earlier. So, all right, let's just touch on this real quick. All right, Georgia Tech with a huge victory, upset victory at North Carolina. Right, Heisman candidate quarterback, and they took them down, held them to 17 points. So with Georgia Tech with a huge victory here, and we think the likelihood, and Brooks, I know you don't want to hear this, cover your ears, that Georgia Tech can beat Georgia next week. But if they do, and then Georgia loses to LSU, is Georgia going to make the CFP?
No,
Terrell,
you can't. They can't lose to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, you can't lose Georgia. And the odds of Georgia Tech, I would say it here. Hell will freeze over if Georgia loses Georgia Tech. And if hell freezes over, they will fight on the ice. And Georgia Tech is still gonna lose. There's no way that is happening. This is not Bill O'Leary. Bill O'Leary is the only coach that the Georgia Bulldogs should ever had feared. He's not coming back.
He's not walking through that door.
I promise you, if I was Georgia Tech, after he had messed up in Notre Dame, I'd have brought him back the next morning. I promise you.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway,
once Georgia beats Georgia Tech, they're in, no matter what happens in the SEC championship game.
right.
So
Absolutely.
That's one team. So
Absolutely.
I don't see the ACC champion getting in. The conference is I just don't think they hold that in a good light. The conference in a good light. So I think
but if it's Clemson, because of Clemson's historic resume,
yeah, like I said, I mean, it depends on how the rest of next week shakes out. But yeah, I think the ACC is outside looking in. Like I said, I think going back to the USC, I think if they run the table, they got a good chance to sneak in, especially on that four spot in the college football playoff. So,
all right, okay, Ohio State.
I'm thinking about it. I'm picking up what you put down because I think I'll give you this. I think if Michigan lose, USC can slide in if they win out. Ohio State, not so much. Not so as much. But if Michigan lose, yes, USC can slide in.
All right, it's good discussion there, guys. There's still some things, some questions need to be answered. And also in the Pac-12, Oregon stays alive with a big victory over Utah, 20-17. So they're still alive in the Pac-12 race. So we'll see what Oregon can do, and maybe that can shake some things up. Or if USC and Oregon have to meet, and USC can get Oregon, that would be a quality victory now that Oregon has beaten Utah. So we'll see how all that shakes out. All right, guys, we have another upset. We just mentioned the Georgia Tech upset over North Carolina, but Navy. All right, Navy with the upset. I'm sorry, one more. Vanderbilt over Florida. Let us know, guys, what type of upset is this one?
Florida's down. Florida's helter skelter. Florida needs to go find their coach.
Vanderbilt's been playing, been hanging with teams lately, been in games. I was all over this line, Vandy plus 14. I loved it. I thought that was, I just don't believe in Florida right now. Vanderbilt's been playing better, hanging with teams. So Vanderbilt plus 14. I was all over that.
I mean, yeah, what
Plus,
happened? I mean, what happened to Florida? I mean, they just fall off the map here in football.
They should have hired Charlie Strong after Steve Spurrier left. But anyway, that's what Florida should have did, but they didn't. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I mean, this guy needs some time. It's his first year, so. But, yeah, losing to Vanderbilt, that's not a good look. You never want to lose to Vanderbilt. All right, they've improved now. I'll give them that.
Yeah, that's a tough one there, bro. That's tough. All right, here's another upset, guys. Navy, okay, mentioned them earlier. All right, Navy with the big upset, the victory on yesterday, and guess what they did in their win over Central Florida? They didn't even throw the ball, man. Like
they don't throw the ball.
Navy ran the ball, and defeated a ranked team in Central Florida. And so there you go, right there. 61 rushes, averaging 4.2 per carry, 17 yards, 264 total yards. Most of it is either up the middle or to the left.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I was in college and we had to play, quote, those bone teams, those power eye, those option teams, right? Our whole practice for the week would change because usually in my era, you either had a couple gimmick spread offenses, but for the most part, everybody ran process. But when you met up with these teams, they ran straight power in your face. You ran that stop sign, so what are you doing?
I was trying to stop. You pointed.
Anyway, we're driving. All right, excuse us. But when you play those teams, it's just a whole different mentality, and it's kind of like when you play Navy in his high school offense, but it's not really that. But with that spread, the true spread run offense, it's totally different than anything you've seen in the last 10 years of. I mean, in your career, and it becomes hard to deal with. It's all about assignment. I don't care how superior your talent is. If you don't take your key, if the tackle don't slide down the field or hold, the linebacker takes the fullback. Blah 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 blah. Eventually, they're going to break one on you. And then with all the academy kids, they're smart. They're very consistent, and they play hard. So you can't. Yes, the talent's not there, but the want to's always been there. Every time anybody faces one of the academy teams, ask Notre Dame. Navy gives them fits every year. So not much of an upset for Navy to beat one of the top 25 teams. They do it. Somebody get caught every year. And out of the military schools, Navy has risen above. I mean, Air Force had its run, but Navy has risen above to the point where this is not. You got it. This is not something to be shocked about.
Yeah, I agree. Those teams are hard to play. The option teams, they're hard to plan for. When Georgia had to play Paul Johnson's Georgia Tech teams every year, I didn't like it. You don't see anything like that.
And it's
bam, you get 1 week to prepare for it. I never liked it. I never felt good about it.
I'm gonna tell you, it's a problem, bro. Because it's your whole you can't out athleticism them. It's like, okay, I know I'm bigger, stronger, faster. I can get to the hole, and then it's like, oh, missed the assignments, and it's gone 40 yards. Up, it's gone 10 yards. Up, it's gone, and it's non-stop coming at you. That offense is one of those offenses that's just non-stop. It's got a tempo. Mm-hmm. It's coming downhill. I don't care how big the kids are. I don't care how strong they are. But when they constantly go down and you start missing assignments, it makes for a long day. Hands start going behind heads. Hands start going on pass. You start looking to the left. Like it just throws you off your game plan.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those things that can bridge the talent gap, for sure. That kind of offense. I don't understand why more teams aren't willing to do it.
Well, yeah,
Speaking
it,
of talent gap, you know what I don't. You know another thing I don't understand is, all right, we know the nature of everything now. We got all these teams that basically the 260-pound inside linebacker and all the big boys, the thumpers are not there. Most college and most high recruited linebackers are basically strong safeties playing linebacker on the college and pro level. I would be one of those coaches that I would go recruit me a whole offensive bunch of hogs and come straight down, run a pro set with a lead back, and just beat the tar out of it because those kids are still out there to be recruited because they're not getting the run they were.
Hmm.
You're not gonna see Levon Kirkland's and Ray Lewis's coming playing inside linebacker anymore.
yeah, the game has definitely changed, and the game has definitely changed, and yeah, given a different style. I mean, look at the name of our show. The name of our show is Triple Option, and and that's a unique style of play, and it went into the name of the show, by the way, that we have a unique way of bringing our game, bringing the game to people weekly. But yes, the triple option also it eats up clock, things like that, shorten the game. So yeah, you have to be ready for teams like that, and you have to barely be disciplined because there's many options that they have when they run those things. So, and you have to have patience too. And as you guys stated, sometimes it's hard to get used to that when you play a certain style all the time. And most teams play this hurry up type offense or no huddle, whatever it is, spread offense now and things like
Yeah,
that. So
it's a spread. I mean, the nature,
yeah, definitely a change.
the reason why spread offenses are the thing now is because you can, if you got a young quarterback and he's not Peyton Manning, he's not Tom Brady or some of the more developed quarterbacks, you can when you spread the offense out, you spread the defense out, and it makes the reads easier. The offense are more complex, but as far as from a quarterback standpoint, it's easier for him to make his reads once you spread the defense out because you can't disguise as much as once upon a time. So
Yeah, very good
Hmm.
point. And we're actually going to do an episode on this, like the state of college football and the style of play. But we'll get into that on a future episode in detail, because we'll have more time as the games start, become less and less on a weekly basis. But um, Nick Saban has some things to say, and we're going to get to that before. But before we do that, OG $2 says, "What up, players?" OG, what's happening?
what up? What up?
What's
What's
up?
up, OG?
All right, let's jump right over to the SWAC, the Southwest Athletic Conference. We'll get the scores out. This is our FCS segment um, of the Division One football. And Mississippi Valley State, what a victory, 27-7. That is huge for Mississippi Valley State. A lot of things have been going on in that program, facility-wise. Deion Sanders has actually helped with practice facilities out there. But yes, Mississippi Valley State with a huge victory. That's the school that Jerry Rice played at, arguably the
Mm,
greatest wide receiver of all time, Mississippi Valley State. Um, Florida A&M,
arguably,
well,
arguably the greatest football player of all time.
yeah, definitely that as well. Definitely that as well. In my mind, he is the greatest wide receiver of all time. But if anybody wants to say somebody that maybe I didn't see play, we'll have to go look at it. But yeah, Jerry Rice is a monster. We definitely do a whole show on him and explain his greatness to everyone. Florida A&M rival victory over Bethune Cookman in their classic matchup. Jeremy Musa again doing well in Florida A&M. The Vanderbilt former Vanderbilt quarterback, and we also have here other victories as well. Alabama A&M with a victory over Texas Southern. Jackson State, they have completed the undefeated season to this point, 11-0, and they will be heading to the SWAC championship game versus North Carolina Central. I'm sorry, they still have the SWAC championship game to play, and if they win that, then the Celebration Bowl, which will be in Atlanta in early December, versus North Carolina Central, who are already qualified as the MEAC, Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference champion. So there's our scores there. Again, Jackson State with Travis Hunter, the highly touted recruit, and many had him listed as the number one overall recruit in the country. He's showing with the pick six and the toe drag swag reception in the end zone, showing that he can play both sides. Travis Hunter can play both sides. And according to Deion Sanders, Travis Hunter will be an NFL defensive back and an NFL receiver. And he's going to display that over the next couple seasons at Jackson State. I highly recommend taking a look at that reception he had in the back of the end zone. That was a professional catch. That's a catch that the pros make. In traffic, two hands, and got 2 feet in bounds in the corner of the end zone. So, and when he had the pick six, you could see that he was moving at a different speed than everyone else. But yes, so those are our scores.
Hunter's a different type of athlete. He really is.
Yeah, Travis Hunter will definitely be playing on Sundays. There's no doubt about it. He'll be playing on Sundays. The wide receiver at Florida A&M, Zay Smith. Again, I mentioned him last week. You will see him on Sundays as well. But there's Florida A&M with their victory. They look like they will be in the FCS playoffs. And more than likely, Jackson State will be playing in the Celebration Bowl. More than likely. Okay, gentlemen, we have 20 minutes left. We can use them. You can use as much of it as you want, but I wanted to bring up Coy's favorite team, their head coach, Nick Saban. All right, and here's some things that was said that Nick Saban is quoted in saying. He thinks the NIL in the current world of college football will never. Well, this is what someone is saying about him. Is that they think that the NIL in the current world of college football will push him away. That was mentioned, and then also Nick Saban is trending that that the coach Saban admits he doesn't enjoy watching football on television. So, Corey, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Nick Saban?
He's from a different era. I mean, that's what a lot of it is. I mean, he's managed to he's managed to translate to the kids because of just the fact that he teaches them the winning attitude and they buy into his program. But as times change, it gets harder and harder and harder on them. And we got to think, this is not a 50-year-old Saban. This is a 70-year-old Saban. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like when the old man was at Florida State. It was a totally different team when he got later in his career because he's older now and he doesn't keep his coaches. His foundation's already gone. You got to think up until Kirby left, his defensive coordinator had been Kirby for the last however many years, right? Then now it's like, why bother? And you got to also remember he's at Alabama. And one thing about Alabama is this: they will try to fire him if he has another season like this next year. So who wants to put up with that? And at that age, he's done everything he needed to do. I mean, he's pretty much done. What Bryant did. Do you remember what happened? Do y'all remember Bryant's last year at Alabama?
Oh, Paul Bear Bryant.
Yeah, do you remember his last year? What did he do when he finally gave up? When he finally said I couldn't do anymore? He died the next year. That's the type of stress you get down here.
Well,
he died the next year.
Wow.
And
yeah.
I think his last season was like a 3 or 4 game loss, and it was like the old man don't have it anymore.
Well, we don't want that to happen to Saban.
Well, this is what you deal with them people down there. I always tell people, I mean, I'm a Bama fan. I'm not that type of Bama fan. But anytime you got people that kill a tree because you lost a football game, you get something that's different. It's just different.
It's the simple. I think it's pretty simple. The nil gives power, gives a little bit of power to the players.
Yeah,
And
well, it gives a
what
lot.
does
It
Nick
gives a lot.
Saban want? What does Nick Saban want? He wants control. He's, these coaches, these old school college football coaches who've been in with their programs for years, they want control. And he sees himself losing control. And, it's as simple as that. He wants total control of that program. He wants to be able to sell his program when he was recruiting. And again, with the nil, it introduces other factors, to why a player may choose a program other than prestige and facilities and all this other stuff. So, he sees himself losing a little bit of power, a little bit of control over, especially in the recruiting circle. So makes
You
sense.
got to look. You got Sherrod, you got Sador, and you got Hunter flying out from Jacksonville to go do photo shoots in Hollywood, and they're at Jacksonville State.
Jackson, yep.
Jackson. I'm sorry. So the power is going. It's going to eventually. It's not. How can I put it? It's not going to be your facilities as much because it's going to be who can you connect me to. And
Yeah.
now the schools that don't have these huge endowments will have other ways to connect these kids in because you don't need millions and millions of dollars to know someone out in Hollywood that's an ad at Zack or a commercial there. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Before you needed millions and millions of dollars to be able to get the kids the money and be able to hide the money. The game is a little bit different now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's what's happening. It's changing, and I kind of equated to Coach K. Kind of equated to Coach K. When the one and done started rolling, like Coach K really wasn't known as a one and done type coach, and he was against that as well as some other guys. But eventually, he started recruiting one and dones and things like that. But you could tell like it started to erode away a little bit, and I think Coach K picked the right time, to make his move now. And it's just the time changing of times, man. And it's like you said earlier, it's a different era and control, things like that. And I think the eroding, players start going elsewhere, it's eroding. And so slowly but surely it's the playing field is gonna start leveling out even more and more each season. And we're seeing it now with Georgia overtaking the SEC.
I think another point to make is the transfer portal.
Whoa, Brooke. I'm not going to let him take a shot at Georgia like that. I'm going to stand up for you. Yeah, Georgia. you didn't.
A shot? I said they're taking over.
No, you said you can see this. Since the kids have their autonomy, if this never happened, Georgia would have never been good. Come on now, Tyrone. Georgia's problem's always been that Georgia never kept their kids in state, we're thinking about one of the most dynamic kids in college football this year is Travis Hunter, and where he's at, out of the damn state. But nonetheless, Georgia's problem's always been they weren't able to keep their kids in state, and we between Rick and Dooley, we always accepted really, really good guys, and if they win enough games, then we got a good coach and a good guy, and every once in a while they challenge. Well, finally Georgia's finally said, the boys at Augusta said, you know what? I'm tired of just being just good guys and all this other stuff. We want some winners, and they push the bar up. That's how it goes. Usually it goes somebody behind the scenes pushing the bar. Yes, Saban may not like it. Saban's not used to this, but being that place down there, certain places are going to do everything in their power. It may be that Saban, Bama's going to have his downtime after Saban leaves, but they're going to do so much work and so much effort to get back. They're going to figure it out. Georgia, they're one of those teams. USC's Hollywood. It's just different out there. It's not. That football team is not in all and everything. Ohio State. They're going to figure it out because that's all they have. These places where all they have is that college football team, eventually they're going to figure it out again.
But you don't think that Georgia is overtaking the SEC has something to do with the eroding of Alabama a little bit too?
That has something
Because
to do with no,
because
I don't think.
Georgia's been
No, I
having
mean
top
because you
recruiting
can't.
class for years. Alabama has too, but it seems like Alabama may not have as many weapons as Georgia has, at this point. And Georgia is still getting top guys to come there. But if
I
Alabama's not getting those other top guys and not as strong, I'm just saying that Georgia is going to take over that conference. They're going to be the front runner eventually.
Tyrone, when you look at those two rosters, they're mirroring, and people do not realize they got top says so. But the truth is, a lot of times that's have been number one because see what I'm saying?
Well, say that one
There's the
part
times
again.
like, okay, for instance, when Easton was supposed to be the same.
Mhm.
Okay, hold on one second.
Okay.
I said we're supposed to be the same year at Georgia, right?
Did you get that, Brooks?
Y'all got me back yet?
Okay.
Did y'all get me? Y'all got me back now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do y'all have me?
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Right
right.
now, yeah, we
When
got you.
Easton was number one on everybody's board, he was not number one on Bama's board. So
Gotcha.
sometimes
Okay.
what quote unquote is the game changer may not be the number one guy somewhere else. So
Okay.
that's you look at it like okay, you look at the class, you look at how many fours. I look at the fours. If you're getting constant fours and fives and more fours than anything, that tells you the strength of your program.
All right. Hey,
Yeah.
Corey, look at that comment down there by OG.
I hear you, $2.
He said you got the
I
auto
think
tunes going on.
I just throw this out there that the transfer portal is probably another thing that has affected
Now
the game too.
that's huge. That's the
And I
biggest
and
one.
I think
That's
that
huge.
with somebody old school like Saban, when players can just walk out and leave, you know
Yeah.
that's hard because I mean it just.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that Saban's probably pushing Saban away a little bit. He doesn't want to once you commit to Alabama, he doesn't. He wants you there.
Right.
So
But you know what? But I blame them for the transfer portals because they should have. It should have been dealt with long before now, and it should have been a lot more reasonable on the player. Because literally, once you was there, because like most people don't realize when you sign a scholarship, some schools gave you 4-year scholarship, but most schools gave you a year-to-year scholarship, right? So that means
Yeah. Yeah.
technically every
Yeah.
year.
It's year to year, basically. Yeah.
Well, it depends on what schools you are. That also
Yeah.
means
I mean,
technically you're paying for your You're paying for your scholarship every year.
mhm.
They don't like to say it like that, but you are.
No, it's
But
true.
yet,
Yeah.
but yet, I can't leave. So there should have been something before now, because
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, I'm like okay, I get the kids take the talent on the road, but I do think it does hurt the sport and it does help hurt development. But there's some middle ground that's not being met with the whole transfer portal thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just if a coach can jump programs, then I mean, a kid should be able to as well. You're right; it probably needs to be regulated a little bit more. But I'm
Right,
all
there
in
needs to
favor
be
of
some balance in it.
I'm all in favor of giving more power to the players. Uh, like I said, Saban's old school, of course. You can see why he, may be
Yeah.
out of the game in a few years.
Because one of his rules was he was not going to let you go unless you transfer somewhere out of the conference. Most people didn't realize that. Did you know that, T? If
Run it
you
by me
left
one more
Alabama,
time now.
if you left Alabama, you were not allowed to transfer to any other SEC school.
Wow.
That was saving rule. He wouldn't release you.
So it goes back to control.
Gotta
He
have
don't
that
want you to come back
control.
and bite me, bite him in the butt. So yeah, that's why I think it's going with Saban, and of course he's not the only coach, but that's where it's going with that. That's why I like to use that Coach K analogy as well. Is that times change, just like even before they came along, there was certain style of play, certain way of doing things, and then it changes. So it's just about evolution, and so that's what's happening here. I like what you guys mentioned about that transfer portal. At first I was like, man, this is just way too much. But then there's times where you look at it and it's like, okay, it makes sense. It can help revitalize a program too. Like I think Marshall benefited from having a lot of transfers. And of course, a school like Jackson State is doing that. Bethune-Cookman, they have the former Jackson State quarterback, so it kind of works out for him. You know what I'm saying? The quarterback lost his job to Shedeur Sanders, which everybody knew that was happening, but he was able to immediately leave and go play somewhere else. So I think it works. You got to find that happy medium, across the board.
I think that's the biggest, that's going to be the hardest part of recruiting at any, at these major programs. How do you keep a quarterback room? That's because it's just going to be hard to keep 4 and 5, 3 or 4 of these quality quarterbacks on your team, because they want to play. And if they can't play, they're going to transfer somewhere they can. So,
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest challenge today. Just how do you keep quarterbacks? So.
Yeah, good point. Good point. And by the way, now that it just hit me, the wide receiver that was at Pitt and now he's playing at USC, and he had that huge catch last night. I think it was like a 40-yard touchdown. He was in the backfield. They disguised him in the backfield, and he basically ran a go route and caught that touchdown. I think his last name was Addison. We'll put it on the YouTube page. But he just transferred from Pitt just last season. One of the top receivers in the nation, and he's over at USC, helping them right now. And so yeah, that's the transfer portal. That's the way things are right now, guys.
But sometimes I like it in that sometimes you don't fit that program. You
Good
just
point.
don't fit. You don't fit that offense. Look at it like this. Go back to our time. Troy Aikman did not start at UCLA. Where did he start playing football at?
Oklahoma, wasn't it?
Yep. Can we imagine Troy Aikman being a Barry Switzer a Barry Switzer quarterback in college?
Right.
He
Right.
still was a very high recruited player, and yes, technically he was a option quarterback ish in high school, but he was really a more traditional quarterback.
Right.
So, but if he didn't break his leg, he'd been stuck in Oklahoma for 4 years.
Yeah, I didn't think, coming from a Georgia perspective, I didn't think Justin Fields fit our program. He went to Ohio State and he just looked like he fit, he fit that style of play. He didn't really fit Georgia's style of play.
My only problem with Georgia, I guess my only problem with our home state is I'm getting tired of seeing quarterbacks leave this state and be all world. At some point, there's got to be a way that we can keep one here.
Well, Georgia State has a program now, and
I'm talking about the
Georgia.
University of Georgia. The
Oh,
University
okay. All right.
When I say the state of Georgia,
Okay.
you got
Gotcha.
to look when you go look at this last so many years of college run. You can name you can was not Burroughs was on Georgia's roster at one point, right? Was not
Ohio
Burroughs?
State.
Who was the kid? The kid before him that was on at LSU, but you had Fields,
Mettenberger.
You had
Mettenberger's at Georgia before he went to LSU.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Then you had Fields, Cam, and the kid that played at Clemson, the rapist. I'm sorry. Deshaun.
Oh, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
Watson.
yeah. We know who I'm
Georgia,
talking about. Yeah. What I'm saying is, you have all
Trevor
this.
Lawrence.
You got to learn how to Trevor Lawrence. You got to learn how to keep your talent in the state, especially when you got 5 quarterbacks that are 5 or 6 quarterbacks that are playing in the league now or played in the league and are a top 10 quarterback. You're thinking, how did you miss out on all of them? But
Well, I think
but
one of my
but
big
Kirby's
one of my big things with Rick was how he recruit. He just didn't. Rick wanted your pro style back. He wasn't looking at Deshaun Watson. He wasn't. There's a lot of guys he just didn't look at because he was just kind of single minded in what he wanted
yeah,
as a
he told Cam
quarterback.
he's gonna be a tight end.
Yeah, and can't be like that nowadays.
Right. Right. Good point. All right, gentlemen. That was a great discussion there, man. Great show. And definitely appreciate you guys taking the time to get up on your Sunday morning and share with the sports world your insights on the college game. It's definitely making me personally a smarter college football fan. So, every second I'm around you guys, I pick up some more stuff, man. So
Shout out to
I feel
Brooks.
good about that.
Shout outs to Brooks. My man come with game. I'm liking this. Zach, you know what? We might
Hey, man.
have to renegotiate your contract. You might get Wally pipped, sir. Shout out to Brooks.
Boy.
But really, brother, I appreciate you. I really appreciate your insight. You come with game, man.
Yeah. And I think next week I need to bring my glasses so then I can be as smart as you guys. Oh, man. All right. Well, he's Coy and he's Brooks and I'm Mr. 411. We thank everybody for watching and listening and hitting the like, subscribe, notification button and all that good stuff. Enjoy your Sunday. We'll see you all next week.
Yes, sir.
All right. We gone.